Hey, Christ followers, let's talk. The last time we learned how Moses decided to help his fellow Israelites and how the people turned on him, and then he was forced to run away to the land of Midian. When Moses was 80 years old, the Lord appeared to him in a burning bush. Hey, listen, before we go any further in the episode, I'd really appreciate it if you would subscribe to this channel and click that little bell for notifications. It can go a long way in sharing the gospel with those who may not know Jesus Christ, and it could be the first step in your discipleship journey. Okay, we're going to pick up in chapter 4. The Lord told Moses to go to his people and to tell them that he was going to lead them out. Moses, feeling like any of us probably would, said, hey, nobody's going to believe that I saw you here and that you spoke to me. What proof do I have that I'm telling them the truth? I mean, after all, if you remember, Moses' own people turned on him before he tried to save him. He killed an Egyptian, and then he tried to break up an argument between the two of them. And what did they do? They said, what are you going to do? Kill us like you did the Egyptian? So he had to run away. I mean, now God is saying, hey, you're 80 years old now. Go on back. You can lead them out now. Moses is like, who's going to believe me? So chapter 4, 2 through 9 says this. Then Moses answered, but behold, they will not believe me or listen to my voice, for they will say, the Lord did not appear to you. The Lord said to him, what is that in your hand? He said, a staff. And the Lord said, throw it on the ground. So he threw it on the ground, and it became a serpent, and Moses ran from it. But the Lord said to Moses, put out your hand and catch it by the tail. So he put out his hand and caught it, and it became a staff in his hand. That they may believe that the Lord, the God of their fathers, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob, has appeared to you. Again, the Lord said to him, put your hand inside your cloak. And he put his hand inside his cloak. And when he took it out, behold, his hand was leprous, like snow. Then the Lord said, put your hand back inside your cloak. So he put his hand back inside his cloak, and when he took it out, behold, it was restored, like the rest of his flesh. If they do not believe you, God said, or listen to you to the first sign, they may believe the latter sign. If they will not believe even these two signs or listen to your voice, you shall take some water from the Nile and pour it on the dry ground, and the water that you take from the Nile shall become blood on the dry ground. That's Exodus 4, 2 through 9. Can you believe that? Can you believe that? It's so cool. So God is speaking to Moses through a burning bush that is not being consumed by the flames. And in chapter 3, Moses asked, who should he say sent him? And the Lord responds that he should say, I am has sent you. Okay, there's a lot of history behind why he said, I am. We're not going to get into that today. But Moses asked a question like, okay, you want me to go, but who should I say sent me? I am sent you. Okay, and then Moses questions, well, how will the Israelites respond to this story? This is craziness. There's a burning bush. God came and spoke to me. He said, I am has sent me. Well, listen, the God of the universe listens to the concerns and gives Moses 3 miracles that he can help use to convince the people. Did you get that? The God of the universe cared enough to put Moses at ease with undeniable proof to show others. Now that's a father that really cares about his children. Even when he does not need to do anything, does he? He doesn't need to prove anything to anybody. He could have just said, I am. Follow me or don't follow me. And I don't care which way you go. It doesn't make any difference because, right, he gives us a choice. We have free will. He gives us a choice. He could have done that, but instead, no. Moses is concerned. Moses is like, I don't know how they're going to believe me. God says, okay, fair point. I'm going to give you 3 miracles that you can do in front of people and use your voice to persuade them so that they'll follow you. So once Moses had the name, I am, and the 3 miracles, He just went off on his mission and ran to Egypt, right? Wrong. Listen to what Moses asked next. But Moses said to the Lord, "O my Lord, I am not eloquent, either in the past or since you have spoken to your servant, but I am slow of speech and of tongue." Then the Lord said to him, "Who has made man's mouth? Who makes him mute or deaf or seeing or blind? Is it not I, the Lord? Now therefore go, and I will be with your mouth and teach you what you shall speak." But Moses said, "Oh my Lord, please send someone else." Then the anger of the Lord was kindled against Moses, and he said, "Is there not Aaron your brother, the Levite? I know that he can speak well. Behold, he is coming to meet you, and when he sees you, he will be glad in his heart. You shall speak to him and put the words in his mouth, and I will be with your mouth and with his mouth, and will teach you both what to do. He shall speak for you to the people, and he shall be your mouth, and you shall be as God to him. And take your hand, and take in your hand this staff, with which you shall do the signs." That's Exodus 4:10 through 16. I had to pause there for a minute because, holy cow, Moses is trying to get out of this. He doesn't want to do it. And the Lord can hear it in his voice. The Lord's like, "Okay, listen, you're making excuse after excuse after excuse. Didn't I make you? I called you to do this." However, even in his anger toward Moses, the Lord is empathetic to his plight and gives him a way that he can feel comfortable going forward. But do you get the impression that the Lord was beginning to lose patience with Moses? I do. I mean, he even told Moses to take the staff and the miracles and go. He says, "Take your staff in your hand, take the signs, get on out of here. Do what I've told you to do." So let me ask you, have you ever been in a situation like this? Maybe with one of your children? Maybe you were the child and your parent or a leader in your life wanted you to do something and you kept coming up with excuse after excuse as to why you couldn't do it. I remember when I was in first grade. I know that was a long time ago, but we had a play that we were going to put on in front of the whole school and the parents. It was a big deal for a first grader. The teacher had chosen me to be the king of Flowerland, and I was supposed to kick off the play and have the opening lines. Dude, I tried every excuse in the book to get out of this. I did not want to be the first one on stage. It was in front of everybody. I was scared to death. She picked me, and I'm like, why? I came up with every excuse I could come up with. I couldn't stay late to practice. I can't memorize the lines. I don't think we'll be in town that day, teach. Well, my teacher would have none of it. She told my mom, and between the two of them, they convinced me that I would be a great king, and they helped me memorize my lines. By the time the big day came, I did a great job, and Flowerland was an awesome success. Not because of the king. It was just a great play. But you see, the teacher had the authority to say, "You're doing it," and that's the end of that. She had that authority. Instead, she helped me overcome my fear and gave me the confidence to perform the way that she knew I could. What if you reacted like Moses did when called to do something? Maybe it's right now. You see, becoming a disciple of Jesus takes time, commitment, and love for the Lord and getting to know Him. You'll sometimes feel like a failure. You'll mess up. You'll ask questions of the Lord, and you know what? That's okay. The Lord wants a relationship, right? He loves us, and He sent us Jesus as a proof of His love. Then he sent us the Holy Spirit to guide us. The Lord doesn't expect us to be perfect, but he does expect us to be willing to go and trust in him. He has earned the right to expect that from us. He's earned the right to expect that from me. He's earned the right to expect that from you. Just as an earthly parent would do anything to help their child succeed, so will the Lord help you. How will you look at your relationship with the Lord after realizing that Moses had hesitation and fear also? I mean, he was talking to a burning bush and it wasn't being consumed by the fire, and he was having second thoughts. God gave him 3 signs that he could do that were miraculous. He could throw his rod down and it became a snake, and he'd pick it back up and it'd turn back into a rod. He'd stick his hand in his coat and it would come out all leprous and white and nasty with boils all over it. And he'd stick it back in his coat, pull it back out, and it was fine. And if that didn't work, he could take water from the Nile, pour it on the ground, and it would turn into blood. He had 3 signs, and he was still having second thoughts. He was scared. He was concerned. He didn't understand. He was worried that it wouldn't happen. He was probably concerned for his life also. Let me ask you this. How will you respond to God's call in your life? You see, we are all called to share our stories with others and to help them grow in their relationship with Jesus. It's not something that you're supposed to hide away and not share with anybody. You're supposed to tell people of all the great things that Jesus has done for you, all the great things that God has done for you. Even in the storms of life, you can see God working in your life. Who will you tell about your relationship with Jesus Christ so that they might feel comfortable enough to get to know God on a more personal level? God doesn't want a relationship between you and him where you're down on the ground and he's way up there. No, he wants a personal relationship with you. He wants to live inside of you. He's given you the Holy Spirit, his son, Jesus Christ. He wants to have that personal relationship with you. He wants to know your heart. He wants to know what's in here. And he wants to be there for you. He wants to comfort you. He wants to be where you turn to in times of need. Let me ask you something. Are you willing to take your miracles and your staff and go? I'll see you next time.